This is my 1989 Toyota pickup with the 1UZ V8 swap, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware of. When I started the channel, this is the truck we kind of built the channel and grew most of our audience around. But then that thing came into play, our 2010 Toyota Tacoma on 1 tons and 40-inch tires. So naturally, this thing kind of just got pushed to the side and ignored. In fact, when we built that, we actually robbed a few parts from this pickup, which seemed to cause concern with some of you guys in the audience. But I'm here to tell you, it ain't going nowhere. This truck is gonna be rebuilt again.
Brought to you in part by Cranbrook Toyota.
Now, me and this truck actually have a fair bit of history. I bought it back in 2014. A couple years after that, we did the solid axle swap, and then I did a V8 swap, and a leaking fuel injector actually burnt this truck to the ground. And after that, I did a whole restoration on it. All of the interior is essentially from a parts truck. I took it down to bare steel in the engine bay, in the cab, made it all nice and pretty again, repainted it. And yeah, since then, it's been awesome. It's got the Lexus 1UZ V8. It's got a standalone ECU. It runs fantastic. Overall, no real complaints in that department. But after building and driving this, that pickup sure leaves some to be desired. Like a suspension. I've already done a solid axle swap, but the 3-link suspension in the Tacoma makes this truck feel like you're driving a brick in comparison. So I want to ditch these leaf springs and build a custom 3-link suspension for the front end of this truck. Also, back in the day when I did the 3/4 swap, I put a 2-inch body lift in this truck. This was to save my hood. I didn't want to cut out the bracing or cut a hole in it to make room for the bigger motor. But nowadays, with the 1UZ in there, that is nowhere near an issue, but unfortunately, because that body lift has been in there so long, stuff like my front bumper, the mounts were made specifically for the body lift. The rock sliders were made specifically for the body lift, and the rear bumper was made specifically for the body lift. So all that's gotta go. Moving down to the rear of the truck. As much as I love the look of a truck with a bed, especially this truck being that I bobbed the bed in it, it looks right. But unfortunately over the years, this box has taken a beating. It's got dents all over it, got rust. It could be saved, but I think what I want to do with this is ditch the bed and not do a flat deck. I want to build some sort of custom tube bed that keeps a box side-like structure to it, a floor, but kind of integrate a roll bar into the bed as well. That'll A, be stronger and allow me to rub the bed on any trees that I want, B, solve a lot of the rust issues, and C, be safer because I'll have a bit of a roll bar integrated on the truck. And I'll still get to keep the style of like having a bed-like thing on the truck versus just going straight flat deck. So now let's switch it up a little bit and talk about things that are staying, things that I really like about this truck. I like the stance of this truck. I like its width. I like how everything fits in the body nicely. So I'm going to be keeping the Toyota mini truck axles. However, I am going to beef them up a little bit. I'm sick of blowing burfs, so RCVs will likely be a must. And the rear suspension, I really like the Chevy 63s, so much so that that's the suspension I used in the back of the Tacoma. So you know that's staying. The 1UZ, you guys know I like that, so that's also not going anywhere. However, I do want it to be moved. I think I want to bring the motor up higher in the engine bay. The main reason I want to move the engine is because of that oil pan clearance there. It has got about 2 inches of up travel before the diff smashes into that pan. Even with this notch, it is still hitting it occasionally. So if I bump it back or even further up a bit, that will no longer be an issue. However, if I 3-link it, I can always bump the axle forward a little bit too, which would also make some clearance. Something to think about. Tire size is also staying the same. 37s are perfect, and I think they fit the look of the truck just right. I've already got a truck on tons and 40s. I don't need to go bigger. So how about we start by pulling everything off? The bed, the bumpers, heck, the whole body. Let's make sure this frame is absolutely clean. We'll look for rust, we'll reinforce it in spots that we find may need reinforcing. Honestly, it might be easiest to build the suspension with the body off. This front bumper is from Fractal Fab, and we've been running it for years. And I do like the look of it, but I think it's time to change. As I mentioned, the mounts for it were designed around my body lift, and because I'm redoing everything on this truck and I want to do it all super DIY style, I think that includes rebuilding the front bumper. There we go. This truck is about to look a whole lot worse before it starts to look better again. But it will look better. Another goal for mine on this rebuild is keep it simple. Like, the more simple you keep it, the less things there is to go wrong, which is kind of what you want in a wheeler. And I think part of that is going to be ditching these aux beam headlights. As much as I like them, they are super bright. They require an extra harness just to make them work properly. So I think I'm gonna go back to a stock style headlight and yeah, just keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, that harness right here. A couple extra relays and a whole bunch of looming just to run the headlights on top of like the stock plugs that are already here. Makes no sense. Keep it simple. Less failure points. That's gonna be, I think, huge for the rebuild of this truck. Now, we'll take out these push fans. In the end, it'll still be an E-fan, like an electronic fan system, but I want to have them on the inside, pulling air, and I'll probably want to build a shroud just so it cools properly. Okay, that 10 mil just Houdini'd on me. Disappeared like magic. Something else I'm not like overly attached to on this pickup are these fiberglass fenders. They look great. They do a good job at covering my tires and stuff. They've got some visible wear and tear. I don't think they'll fit the new like aesthetic or style I kind of want to go with this truck. I want to be able to like take this out in the woods, and if I smash in a fender, oh well. If I smash in these too hard, they'll crack and just crumple. So if you're local and you want these, I mean, shoot me an offer. Alright, now the next task on the agenda is to take that box off. And because I'm ditching the body lift anyways, I'm just going to take a Sawzall and cut through the body lift and the bolts and not even fight with it. Also, we got some barrels. For those of you who have seen my 4Runner rebuild, you'll know what those are for. This thing's starting to look pretty naked now. My buddy Trevor came over, helped me pull that bed off, and of course, forgot to hit record, but it's the way she goes. Kind of crazy because that will have been the last time this truck will have seen a bed. At least while I own it, and I don't plan on getting rid of this. Next, I think I'm gonna tackle the transmission and transfer cases. So I'll remove the drive shafts, unbolt the bell housing from the engine, and then I'll show you guys how I remove the R150 and dual transfer cases by myself. And now I'll show you my fancy trick for removing a R150 and 2 transfer cases by myself. And it's not too fancy. I literally just drop it. I throw a big tire under it, a floor jack under one side, take the bolts out, support the one side, and then take the bolts out on the other side. And when the bolt's out, it'll slip right down and fall on the tire. It's really not that complicated, but it's a lot easier than taking the dual case cross member out, then separating the transfer cases from the transmission, and then pulling the transmission. Meanwhile, just kind of bench pressing it all. So it's probably not the best way, but it's the way I'm gonna do it. I got it out, had to resort to plan A, B, C, and D. I think last time I took it out, I did it in the shop with the floor jack under the tranny, now that I'm thinking about it, not under one side, and I had the tire further up. The shifter's got in the way. Yeah, I could have done a lot better, but I didn't. Well, on this week's episode, we managed to get a fair bit done on the pickup. The bed is off, the front end is taken apart, there's no more bumper, grill. The dual transfer cases and transmission is out, and I am so excited to keep building this thing. Now, it's not going to go like the Tacoma. We're not going to do back to back to back, like daily vlog, build on this thing, or even like the 30-day turnaround. It's just not going to happen. It's kind of going to be my winter project, so it'll probably be done into the spring or summer next year. Anyways, guys, if you do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button, and hey, consider subscribing. I upload weekly Toyota building, wheeling, and off-roading content. Anyways, I'll catch you next week. Peace.